Welcome to Senior Break. I'm Dawn Medici with Oxford Township Parks and Recreation.
And I'm Marie May with Addison Township Senior Center. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Marie.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome. So we have a special guest today.
Today our special guest is going to be Sergeant Jason Teelander from Addison Township. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you.
Glad to have
Nice
you
to be
here.
here.
We've got some questions for you.
Appreciate the invite.
Yes, welcome.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So you want to start with your question
Yeah,
that you
so
had? It was
My question is I know there's so many substations within Oakland County. How does that all work? And who do you report back to Sheriff Bouchard, or like what's the chain of command, and why all these little substations scattered throughout Oakland County?
Well, it's mostly, well, first of all, we don't directly report to Sheriff Bouchard. All the substations are set up in a way, and every substation is a little different, and which kind of goes to the reason why we have so many. Every community is a little different. They have different needs. They have different staffing levels, different populations, different businesses, and all of that. So, to make it more personal, they're a little smaller, or so they're set up into different cities, basically,
Okay.
or townships, and all the townships are run, or all the substations are run by a substation commander, which I'm the substation commander of Addison.
Right.
It's the smallest substation, I believe, in Oakland County.
Oh, wow.
Then most of the substations are ran by lieutenants, with the exception of Rochester Hills and Pontiac. They're both ran by upper brass because
Okay.
they're such a big community. So all of us as substation commanders report to a lieutenant and captain in patrol services, which is what most of the community sees every day as far as uniformed police and patrol cars and all of that. We're all a member of what's called patrol services.
Okay.
Then there's a corrections division of the jail that's set up very similar, but of OCSO, I should say, and that is the jail and corrections
Okay.
and courts. And then there's another division called IFS that's
Wow.
mostly investigative and undercover and things like that.
also interesting.
It is very interesting.
But we have a question today that I know I have been wondering about, and that's fraud on my computer.
Yeah.
Can you help me think about that or learn something about?
Stay safe.
Yeah, just
Yes.
to stay
Yeah.
safe, basically. Well, it's certainly probably the crime of the 2000s. It's definitely become quite prevalent, unfortunately, with the world of internet and the easy access to everything and clicking on things.
Right.
And
Well, people, like I get something from like my husband that looks like it's legit, but when I really look at it, I'm like, I think twice about it, because why would he be sending me something?
and that's the best thing that you can do is as for advice to everybody. If something doesn't quite look right, it probably isn't. They're getting, the criminals are getting better at getting like your contacts, for instance, and using an email that looks like it came from your husband or somebody you
Okay,
know, because
yep.
the name looks so similar, but there's a little something different about it, like a period in the email address or something that just doesn't, maybe even the way they talk or they type. And
Right.
you kind of know your friends and your spouse, definitely. You can kind of tell, like, they're talking weird. That
Right.
doesn't sound right.
Right.
And if anything like that happens, the best thing you can do is really just not click on any links that they give and call that person directly and see if you can get a hold of them and make sure that
It's legit.
it's legit. Yeah.
Okay.
So what if it's a number I had recently? Somebody charged something on my Visa. So when the link was on there, so the number I called that number and that person answered the phone. They really sounded legitimate.
Yeah.
But I don't charge online. So
Right.
I knew it wasn't me. And he said, just give me the last four numbers of your Visa card. And I said, no, I can't do that. But how do they get a hold of me like that? How do they get information?
Well, they've developed, it's kind of sophisticated the way they get their numbers, and sometimes it's not sophisticated. They just basically have area codes and they see the prefix codes and they're just calling numbers, random numbers, and they're just throwing something out there. Like a lot of people will get texts that say your Netflix account has been hacked or something, and
Yes.
that person doesn't even have Netflix.
Okay.
But if they shoot that text out to 500 people and they get 2 or 3 people that, oh my gosh, it has been, and they click on something, well, they have nothing to do all day except do that and put numbers out and kind of, they're just fishing basically expeditions.
So it's not
So it's not
necessarily something we're
necessarily you
doing.
that's a target as,
Okay.
your name, but
Okay.
as a person, it's just a phone number that's a target and hoping
So they
find
put it out to a
something.
lot of people, hoping that half of them will answer them.
Right.
Or at least a
Okay.
Or
couple,
at least
right?
even a
Yeah,
couple, like
yeah.
I said, and that's all it
Yeah.
really takes is one or two people that more or less fall for it, and
Mm-hmm.
and then they have some free. Their ultimate goal is to get money.
You really have to watch your emails in because, like, even with the banks, their logos look so,
Everything
Yes.
looks so legit.
Yes.
it looks right, and you think, oh, I better open this and find out, and then, yeah.
Well, I mean, the big thing to remember is just that, and banks have you sign this when you go and open up an account, that they're never going to ask you for your account information. They're never going to ask you for any of your personal information. They'll ask you to contact them directly, and
Right.
only them. There's kind of a scam going, and it kind of brings me to a thought of a scam that's going on around here. Specifically this area, I've seen it a few times in Addison, and that is that people will call and portray themselves from Bank of America or Oxford Bank or wherever, and they tell you that they've had a fraudulent withdrawal or a wire transfer from their account, and to make that go away, you have to transfer money immediately here, or else that's going to go through, or something like that. It's always high pressure, high tactic
Right.
type things. So that's the other one of those indicators. If it sounds really rushed and it sounds like they say things like you can't hang
Pressure,
up,
pressure.
and you have to do this within the next 2 hours, or your $35,000 transaction is going to go through. If it's anything high pressure, like you have to do it now,
So would you have to be
It's-
banking online to
not
transfer that?
necessarily.
So,
Not
or-
necessarily. They'll provide you with where that money needs to go. That's
But
what
I mean,
they'll
how would
always
you
do.
get a hold of if you don't bank online, how would you get a hold of the money? Would you
Well,
have to
I
actually
just
go to the
had one
bank and
case
transfer?
just recently where believe it or not, the person was told to go to the bank because they didn't bank online.
Okay.
This was an elderly person. Go to the bank, withdraw money, don't tell anybody why you're doing it because you're
Right.
already on the phone with me, and I'm from Oxford Bank in particular.
Okay.
And this is no slight against Oxford, it's just what they
No,
used
yeah,
in
Right.
the
yeah,
community. That's
yeah.
why a lot of times it's local.
Yeah,
They try
And-
to get to your heart.
Right,
Like,
right.
really try to make you
And
feel.
they told them to withdraw $5,000. Don't say anything to the tellers because they don't know. I'm in the loss prevention part of it, right? I'm in this top security part.
Sure.
We're saving your money. They won't know anything about it.
oh, it's bad.
Withdraw $5,000 and then go to a store,
Okay.
buy gift cards, scratch them off in the back, and provide me with all the numbers.
Wow. I'm
Well,
glad
that's-
you,
It sounds baffling, but that was to save a $10,000 wire transaction, is what this person was told,
Wow.
this victim.
I'm glad
And-
you said that because I think a lot, and me too, I don't use online banking.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you made that clear, that you can still get
Yeah.
Scams.
Take it.
You still
Right.
scams.
It's just, it's, the main thing I'd like people to know is just that when it becomes high pressure like that, just step back for a second, and call either the local police department, which, would be for Addison, Oxford, obviously call the substation, or if not that, call the actual institution itself.
Welcome back to Senior Break. And before our break, we were talking with Sergeant Teelander about just basic fraud with emails and even phone calls. But going back to the email piece, someone told me at some point that if you hover over who the email is from, it'll give you information to make it clear for you whether or not it's a legit link or a legit email or a legit sender, I
Right.
guess you could say. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a great point that I hadn't thought of, but absolutely true. Usually if it's a false email or one that's been generated to look real, if you just put your icon, your mouse on the sender, like who it was from, because usually it'll just say, like if it was from me, it might just say Jason Teelander, it won't say my email address.
Right.
And if it's legit, it'll come up with my email address.
Okay.
if it's not legit, it comes up with a lot of, I mean, there's no way to really describe it other than it looks like computer code usually. Almost 100% of the time it'll say the Jason Teelander, but then there'll be a lot of symbols and dots and just weird, it's really long and it
Okay.
expands it.
Almost
and-
like a formula of some
Yeah,
sort.
almost like a formula,
Yeah.
like some sort of computer code. And that's
Code,
kind of the
okay.
same for websites too, if you're going to false websites.
All right.
A lot of times if you click on any of the links that are within a website, they'll take you to some page that has a bunch of computer gibberish code.
Okay.
It doesn't actually take you anywhere,
Sure,
even though the website looks good.
right.
I was going
Okay.
to ask you about, I was told that if there's a little lock
Yes.
up in the upper, that's safe. Is that true?
That's supposed to be a secured network, yeah.
Okay,
And,
and then
and most of the time when you find the websites that have the links I was talking about, the hyperlinks, there isn't, if you look closely at the address bar, I'm not really a computer expert,
That's
so
okay.
some of this
Okay.
I might be saying it a
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
I'm just talking in
That's
layman's
okay.
terms of what I can,
Well, and that's what
I
we
see.
need, right.
Basically the lock is, there's no lock on there, it's like an unlocked lock if you look
Okay.
at it.
Yeah,
Okay.
all
So
right.
it just means it's unsecured. So it's probably a computer-generated website that it's not been verified by, again, not being a computer expert, I don't know what to call
Right.
it, but
Yeah.
not being verified by the internet, more or less.
Right. But if your gut's telling you, I'm not sure, then you should stick with your gut and not
Yeah, your
click on a
instinct.
link
Yes,
or
definitely
respond to that person on the phone call.
And-
Always just double check.
Yes.
Go back.
Double check. The best thing is to never even click on it, but if you do and you start thinking while you're in it, I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but you get scared that now you've screwed up, just have your spouse, somebody else there. If you really can't hang up the phone because you're afraid to or something, have one of them call the police. We'll come out, we'll talk to that person and see what happens.
Okay.
That's happened before where somebody actually started second guessing everything and called some of our deputies out and they got on the phone with the person and that phone call ended quite quickly after that.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, so
Right.
they're more afraid of law enforcement, than
Right.
they just want an easy target, so to speak. They don't want to have to jump through hoops of, possibly being found out.
Right.
I remember having a glitch in my computer, but it would not let me get on any sites. They said if I sent $50,
Yeah.
they would, and it was at a time when I needed my computer bad. I didn't send the money. But I was, after you keep trying and trying and trying, and they were sending not very nice things on. So I got really frustrated. I called my friend that does a computer to come out, and he said, you have to think too that why, he said somebody got into my computer. Never, ever, ever pay them the money. He
Right.
said, never send the money, because if you pay it one time, they'll know you have more. And then he also said, why do you think that one thing on your computer worked and the rest didn't? That should have been a sign to me that it wasn't the computer.
Yeah.
But you
Right.
don't think of that. You
Right.
don't think of
Right.
those things, which is why it's really good you're on here to tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Right.
And
Don't
it's
do
good
it.
that you called somebody. So yeah, even
Yes.
if it's not the police that you're calling, at least maybe call a friend and say, hey, maybe that's also can help.
Yeah.
Somebody
Sure.
on the outside just hearing about it, like, no, that doesn't quite sound right.
Yeah, yeah,
And kind
yeah.
of help you through too.
But they can take you in so easy because you
you
need
get
the
sucked in,
computer.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're-
Well, this is relative. I'm going to say new to this area because I hadn't heard of this very often until recently, and I actually don't have a case of this in Addison. I don't know if there's any in Oxford, but a couple of the bigger cities, there's been a few of these cases starting to pop up that I've been hearing about from other detectives, and that is they're invading your computer like that, saying click here, and it's got spyware and all this stuff. You've been infected. You can't do anything, and they lock up your computer somehow. Then they get you to give them remote access, like like an IT center or
right,
something to
right.
fix their
Yeah.
computer. And you can see them doing what they're doing. They're like, no, you'll see me do this, you'll see me do this, but somehow they're extracting information from your computer while they do all this stuff and basically fix your computer. They might not even ask for money. And usually they don't, and usually they'll also ask for like maybe your cell phone so they can put the same great software on your cell phone, and they'll do that, and then they'll go to your apps, like if you do online app banking, things like that, they'll try to get passwords and all of that stuff. And generally with these cases that I've been hearing about anyway, they don't take the money right away out of your bank account. It gets drained like within a month or so.
Oh.
But they've got all your passwords and you don't change them because everything looks fine.
Right.
Because if they did it right away, you might get an alert from your bank, an actual real
Right.
alert from your bank,
Right.
and shut it down, knowing that you just did this online. And
Okay.
they kind of,
So-
they're being more stealthy about it, let's say.
So would they, if you don't have much online, like I don't do banking online,
Yeah.
what else would they get? Would they be able to get sites and charge things to my name?
They may be able to, yeah. It just depends on what you have in the internet, really.
Right.
Okay.
Like, you'd have to have something stored for them to really hurt you.
Okay.
Like, if you don't do online banking, it might be a little more difficult.
Okay.
They might, you might just be a target, like, yeah, they have everything, but Maria doesn't have anything here that we can take, so
Yeah,
we'll move
yeah.
on to the next person.
Yeah, okay.
All right, now you had said this isn't something that is directly Addison or Oxford at this point, but what is going on scam-wise in Addison that we can make our viewers aware of? Just and how to stay safe. I mean, to be safe.
The ones we just talked about are probably the most common. The phone calls of, hey, I'm your aunt or your cousin so-and-so, and you have a cousin so-and-so you haven't seen in a while. Because now how they exactly get people's information, I don't know. This is a little more in depth where they have people's information, but everything's on Google, basically. If you check on somebody, you can usually come up with some things. And they'll portray like there's somebody that's in jail and they just need bond money, something relatively simple and small,
Okay.
like I need $500, can you help me out? You know, aunt or whatever, you know, and you send it and it's not legit. That's kind of common. That's been around for a little while, those kind of types of things, or you owe taxes, you owe the money right now, and they're all high pressure. Like, no, I can't hang up because I only have one phone call and
Right.
things like that. But I have to stay on until it's done, you know, so they won't make me
Again,
get
that
off the
high
phone.
pressure.
Again,
All
that's
right.
what it is.
Okay.
It's any high pressure phone calls.
I'm not sure of my question, but I know that online we get a lot of medical type bills and hospitals saying fill out this form. Are those fairly safe, do you think?
Usually they are. Usually
Okay.
it comes in an encrypted form from the hospital
Okay.
themselves.
Okay.
It's sort of like any legal terms you might, or any legal papers you might get
Right.
from a law firm and stuff.
Okay.
You have to click on like a secured, you know it's coming. It's a secured link. It takes you to a
Okay.
secured website.
Okay.
If you know it's coming, especially, like
Okay.
this is going to be coming today, I'm emailing it now or in the next
So much
hour.
to think about
And it
that,
usually
you
takes you to
know.
like medical portals and stuff like that.
Yes,
Usually those
yes.
are quite safe.
Okay,
Well, good.
okay.
A lot of great information.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so-
So much to think about.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Sergeant Teelander. It was great to have you here
good to
and
be
nice
here.
to meet you. Really appreciate you coming out today and sharing this great information.
Gave us a lot to think about,
Yep.
what to do and what
Right.
not to do, which could save us from a
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
Welcome to Oxford Community Television. We are proud that our 4 communities continue to choose local programming, local news, sports, community issues, familiar faces, celebrations, and commitment to each other. Welcome to Oxford Community Television.
Before break, we had Sergeant Teelander from Addison substation for Oakland County Sheriff was with us and shared some great information. And now joining us is we have Sergeant Meza from Oxford Township, Oakland County Sheriff's substation. And he's going to share some things with us today too to help keep you all safe. So what about credit card fraud? What can you share with us about credit card fraud?
It's on the rise. A lot of people have been getting defrauded by credit cards. It's as easy as typing your information into something and it's sold to third-party vendors, and then hackers get a hold of your information. It can happen by on the phone or any of those previous frauds, you know, where it's on a telephone, an email, or internet, or whatever way they're able to obtain your information.
Okay.
Then they'll open credit cards with your social security number, your bank account information, and then, you know, we'll get that email from Bank of America or Chase or somebody saying, hey, thanks for your business, you know, you should be getting a credit card, whatever. And during that initial time is when they're out making all these different purchases online or in stores off the basic credit card that they have. And then once you've caught on to, wait, this isn't right, they've already moved on to somebody else.
All right, so then what do I need to do to protect myself from that happening? Or if once that happens, what do I do then to make it right?
So there is a website called ic3.gov, and it automatically, you load your information into that, and it goes to the federal government where they're able to investigate these frauds that happen. When somebody opens a credit card in your account, I mean, you have to monitor your credit agencies. Sometimes they'll make you get a report number, but these are all things that you as a person can do. It's hard for us to try and identify who the actual person is. And
Okay.
a lot of times it's kind of a dead end street because they're so fast and they're so good at what they do that we can't usually obtain a suspect in those cases. So, I mean, it's just the minute you get an email or you get a credit card or something that you realize, I didn't
Apply
sign-
for,
apply for it.
right?
You know, contact that actual place, right? Like if I say that I'm from whatever bank, call the actual bank on their actual number because I could be a scammer contacting you.
Right, okay.
I was thinking, I was always thinking that they would hack my computer if I charged something on my computer. But if I go to one of the grocery stores, let's just say Kohl's, and I use that Kohl's charge, can they still get information about me off of that charge? Or is it strictly just charges that I would use, charging something from my computer or my phone?
It's easier to do it by your phone or computer. I mean, there are credit card skimmers right at gas stations. You know, they have multiple ways that you can tug on it, you can look at it. But those are kind of
It's harder for them to do?
harder for them to do, right?
Okay.
Because there's so many cameras everywhere. So
Okay.
online stuff, virtual things,
Okay, it's
is
easier.
so much easier for them to do.
Okay, okay, yeah, I didn't think about that.
I didn't either. Yeah, I didn't either.
Oh,
So,
no.
all right, so
have to
you mentioned this site that you can go to and you provide that information. What's that site again?
ic3.gov.
Okay, ic3.gov.
Yep.
And then you would upload all of that information, and then you said federal government will
Yep,
take a look at it?
The federal government, they process their own information.
Okay.
And they look into their kind of stuff because they have all these different units that are specifically for that. They kind of work with those portions.
Okay,
Is that the letter I and the letter C?
Yep, the letter
The
I,
letter
the letter
C,
C,
okay.
and then the number 3.
okay. That's great
Okay.
information to know, because I would not have thought about that.
Yeah.
Now, you did also mention that you should be monitoring your, our own
Your own credit.
credit.
Credit history and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, they suggest, right, I think you run it once a year or something like that. I think there's all those sites. But again, make sure that you're running it through the trusted,
Website. yeah,
website.
Right.
What will that show you on your credit report?
It should show you, like what your score is, what debt you have or whatever type of stuff.
What's been charged? Will it show that on there?
I don't know.
Okay,
From my experience from years ago, it just kind of showed me all of the credit cards that were in my name,
okay,
like all of like my mortgage, any loans, any of those types of things. And if something there does not look accurate, or if you know your balances or your dollar amounts don't match what your credit report,
then someone's been in your,
that's a good
business.
possibility. I mean, that would be a red flag to then for you to go back and start
Right.
investigating
And it should
yourself.
tell you, you know,
That was
like
good.
MasterCard or somebody, right? Something that doesn't make sense to you, then
Question
it would
it.
give you that, you know, hey, let me call this company and kind of
Yeah.
figure out what's going on.
yeah.
Right.
It's a shame we have to be so careful
We
anymore.
do. And you know what's really scary too is you hear more and more. My husband and I just went down to the Fox last weekend and to see a show, and they sent me an email saying, okay, you have to have this size bag to get in now, and it's cashless. Everything's credit card. It really makes me nervous that if everybody's moving towards credit card, that how much easier it might be to get scammed or for somebody to steal that credit card or whatever it is, your identity. Really makes me nervous.
Do you think that we are moving towards that? Or because I've also heard people say, pay cash, pay cash. don't, don't get in debt,
I don't know. It's hard.
Just don't know
It's
what to
hard.
do.
It's hard, but when they're forcing you at the gas station, I mean, it's not that they're forcing you. They're trying to make it more convenient for you, because I think people's time is very valuable. And if I can just stick it in the slot at
card,
the pump, gas
fast.
pump,
It's fast.
and I don't have to walk in to do it,
Right.
I've saved myself maybe 2 or 3, 4 minutes. So
yeah,
because my time
true.
is valuable. So.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so kind of shifting gears here, Marie was talking about roundabouts. So can you help educate us a little bit about how we should be using roundabouts? Because roundabouts in the Addison-Oxford area are beginning, and Lake Orion are getting more prominent, and you can't really escape them.
Right.
So how can we be safe in a roundabout?
So the biggest thing, people in the roundabout have the right of way. If you're in that already, all the other people who have yield signs has to yield to that individual. A lot of times you'll see people just, I'm gonna race to make it in, and that's when the crashes occur.
Okay.
Oh,
So the people who are physically in the roundabout have the right of way.
okay.
The people on the outside are usually your first or second exit that you would go to. The people on the inside portion are usually going to be taking it all the way around or to its last or final exit.
Exit. Okay.
Okay.
And then they have to merge, obviously, and everybody kind of has to watch out for that.
Okay.
So.
That's good to know, because a lot of people
It's
either
challenging.
avoid.
Right, it's
And I know on
challenging.
Baldwin, there's like, what, 6
Oh,
or
it's
7?
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are avoiding them because they feel, I think they feel threatened, because now that you explained it, it's really good.
Yes.
Because they just don't know how to use them,
Yeah.
you know?
And they don't have to, I mean, it's a yield sign, it's not a stop, right? Like if you can see the flow of traffic is continuing to go a certain way, like if you see a car coming towards you, it's not the time to go in front of them.
Yeah,
But it's a yield sign. You don't have to physically stop. You just have to yield the right of way to those cars, right?
Right.
well, being a senior, I'm usually out between the 10 and 3, and there's not a lot of traffic, so it's not been a problem. But what about during busy traffic hours? Is it harder? Because there's so many cars, and who
It
goes
can be,
first?
but it's always yielding to the right of way, right? So
Okay.
the cars have to yield, right? So
So it does move?
if I'm looking to the left, right, because the traffic's always going around it
Right.
clockwise, I have to look at the left because that's the only direction that the cars are coming. So if I see a flow of cars coming to me, I can't go. So I might be held up, but then once I go, it kind of stops. You know what I mean?
The other ones too.
Automatically
Right.
start
Oh, okay.
to slow some
Okay.
other cars, right?
Okay, that's a
So
good
we
point.
might have 5 cars backed up here,
Yeah,
but once there's a break, ours will kind of go
Move.
and the other ones will kind of
Okay.
take a break.
Yeah.
that's really a good point, because I was thinking, if I was in that traffic, how could I get in?
But
Right.
you'll see a lot of
Yeah.
cars, they'll go up to it and they'll just slam on their brakes, and it's like, you don't have to physically slam on your brakes and come to a complete stop. Like,
Because it's a yield.
if you can physically see, I mean, we've all been to roundabouts, if you
Yeah.
can see that the cars are physically all going that way, one that's coming towards you makes a huge obvious
Right.
thing, right? So like, as long as I'm aware that they're there and I'm yielding to them and I can continue on, then you're okay.
They'll be
Okay.
all right.
You'll see a lot of people get scared and they're like, slam on their brakes, and it's
Right.
like, no, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, great.
Oh,
I
that's
thank you
good.
so much for coming out today and spending a little bit of time with us, sharing some information about the credit card fraud and how to be safe, and especially on how to be safe in these roundabouts, because
Yes.
they're popping up everywhere. So thank you so much for coming in today. And
Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome.
and appreciate it. And again, as we said earlier, if you don't feel that something's right and you're second guessing, or why would my grandson need money to get out of jail, please always double check. Trust your gut and reach out to that loved one, or even your local police department or sheriff's department, and they'll help keep you safe. So,
Yep.
all right.
Till
So
next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye.